They say a picture never lies. But that morning, every photo I saw felt like a betrayal. My son, Daniel, had just returned from a family trip to the northern hills. Leah, my daughter-in-law, posted the pictures on social media. Perfect angles, matching outfits, sunlight on their faces. A happy family. The kind people leave heart emojis under. I smiled at first. I always do when I see Daniel smiling. But something felt off. There were 3 of them, not 4. Amara, my 6-year-old granddaughter, was nowhere. At first, I thought maybe she was camera shy that day, or asleep, or sick. But then I remembered she'd been so excited for that trip, packing her tiny pink backpack and bragging that she'd see snow for the first time. So where was she? I scrolled faster, my heart thudding louder with every swipe. Daniel and Leah with their little boy, Ethan. Ice cream smiles, matching scarves, family dinners. Even a picture of Leah kissing Daniel's cheek under fairy lights. But not a single glimpse of Amara. Not a hand, not a shadow, not even a stray curl of her dark hair. Something cold twisted in my stomach. I opened one photo on full screen. A group picture in front of a waterfall. The rocks behind them looked strangely blurred, as if someone had smudged the air itself. I zoomed in. There, around the edge of the frame, was a faint outline, the curve of a small shoulder, the trace of tiny fingers. My breath caught. Someone had erased her. The word echoed inside me like a scream I couldn't let out. Erased. I leaned closer, my trembling hands gripping the phone. I checked another image. Same blur, same faint outline. A missing shape, a hollow where a child should be. Leah, I whispered, my throat tightening. What did you do? I remembered the way Leah used to pull Amara's hair back too tight when she braided it. How she'd correct her at the dinner table for speaking too softly. How she'd smile in public, but her eyes never softened when they landed on that little girl. Still, this was different. This was cruel. I called Daniel immediately. The line rang, then went to voicemail. I tried again, pacing the living room, staring at the family portrait on my wall, one of the last before Leah entered their lives. Amara's toothy grin glowed beside her father's proud smile. A real family. When Daniel finally picked up, his voice sounded tired. Mom, can we talk later? Leah's putting Ethan to bed. I just saw your photos. I said quietly, why isn't Amara in any of them? A pause, then a nervous chuckle. Oh, Mom, you know how she is. Always running off, hiding behind things. Don't lie to me, Daniel. My voice cracked. I saw the edits. She was there. Leah cut her out. He exhaled, long and heavy. You're overthinking again. Leah just cleaned up the photos. Lighting and stuff. Lighting doesn't erase a child. He said nothing. The silence on the line was worse than a fight. It was surrender. When he hung up, I sat in the dark, the only light coming from my phone screen, those perfect, hollow photos staring back at me. The living room felt smaller, colder. The ticking clock sounded too loud, too slow. I opened Amara's last message to me, a voice note from weeks ago, her tiny voice saying, Grandma, can I come stay with you soon? Tears blurred my vision. I looked again at the smiling faces on my screen, Daniel, Leah, and Ethan, and the empty space where my granddaughter should have been. That night, I stared at the screen and whispered, What did you do to my granddaughter, Leah? Perfection can be terrifying, especially when it smiles back at you. When Daniel first brought Leah home, she looked like everything I'd ever wanted for my son. Graceful, well-spoken, the kind of woman who made people lower their voices when she entered a room. She shook my hand with a firm grip, her perfume soft but expensive, her lipstick flawless. I remember thinking, she's perfect. I was wrong. Leah had a way of commanding space without raising her voice. At dinner that first night, she complimented the food, laughed at Daniel's jokes, even helped Amara cut her chicken. I watched her, a little in awe. After Daniel's first wife passed, I had prayed for someone to help him rebuild. Someone kind, but kindness can be performed. Over time, I began to see how Leah curated her life, like one long photo shoot. She rearranged furniture before guests arrived, edited her sentences before speaking, and controlled Daniel's every public move with a gentle touch to his arm. It was subtle, like stage direction, and Daniel obeyed like an actor afraid to miss his cue. At first, I told myself it was love, that maybe he just wanted peace. But love shouldn't feel like a script you're too scared to improvise. Leah knew exactly how to charm a crowd. At family gatherings, she'd lean on Daniel's shoulder and talk about how our family means everything. Her laughter filled the room like music, until Amara spoke. Then the music stopped. It was small things at first. Leah correcting Amara's pronunciation in front of everyone, cutting her off mid-sentence with a smile, turning to Ethan, her own son, and saying, "Sweetheart, use your big voice so everyone can hear you." Every compliment for Ethan was a comparison Amara could never win. I once caught Amara tracing her fingers over a photo on the mantel, Daniel and Leah holding Ethan as a baby. Amara wasn't in it. She whispered, "Grandma, do you think Daddy remembers when it was just me and him?" That question haunted me. One afternoon, I stopped by their house unannounced. Leah answered the door, her smile tight. Behind her, Amara sat on the floor coloring, her little back hunched over. I asked where Daniel was. "At work," Leah replied smoothly. "You know how busy he is." Her tone made work sound like escape. I offered to take Amara out for ice cream. Leah's eyes narrowed just slightly, but I noticed. "She has homework," she said, "and sugar makes her hyper." Her voice was honey, but her eyes were ice. When I turned to Amara, she didn't look up. She kept coloring, quiet, obedient. The drawing was of a house, a small figure standing outside a window, watching another family inside. My heart clenched. Later that evening, Daniel called me. "Mom, Leah said you made her uncomfortable today. You shouldn't drop by without notice." "Uncomfortable?" I whispered. "I came to see my granddaughter." He sighed. "Please, Mom. Leah's just trying to keep order. You know how kids can be." I wanted to scream that children are supposed to be messy, that love isn't neat. But I said nothing, because Leah was listening. I could hear her soft laughter in the background, and Daniel's voice shrinking smaller with every second. After that, my visits became less frequent. Not because I didn't want to see Amara, but because every time I entered that house, I felt Leah's eyes following me, measuring me, waiting for me to step out of line, so she could edit me out next. Months passed. The family photos online looked perfect. Daniel's arm around Leah, Ethan on her lap. Sometimes Amara appeared in the corner, blurred or cropped. Sometimes not at all. Still, I convinced myself it wasn't deliberate. Maybe Leah just preferred symmetry. Maybe Amara was shy. Maybe I was overthinking. But now, after what I saw in those edited pictures, I knew the truth. Leah's smiles were sugar-coated lies, and I had just tasted the poison beneath. You can't rewrite love, but Leah tried. After that night, I couldn't sleep. The glow of my phone haunted me. The empty spaces where Amara should have been still burning behind my eyes. By morning, I decided I needed proof. Proof that I wasn't losing my mind. So I opened my old laptop, the one I hadn't touched in years, and typed Amara into the photo folder search bar. Thousands of pictures filled the screen. Her first day of preschool, her toothless smile, Daniel holding her at the park. My eyes softened. She was here. She existed. But when I opened social media again, the world told a different story. Leah's version. On her page, the timeline was flawless. Daniel, Leah, and Ethan living a picture-perfect life. The captions read like chapters from a fairy tale. Family day with my loves. Couldn't ask for a better trio. Trio. That word stung. I scrolled further back. Even the older posts, the ones I remembered clearly, had changed. I stopped at a photo I knew by heart. Daniel's wedding day. Amara was a flower girl, wearing a tiny white dress, clutching her basket of petals. But in Leah's post, there was no little girl. Just Leah, radiant, alone in the spotlight. I zoomed in again. The edges of her gown were warped, the lighting inconsistent. Traces of editing that screamed cover-up. My heart pounded. I ran to my old cabinet where I kept printed albums. Dust rose as I opened the drawers, flipping through years of birthdays, picnics, holidays. I froze at one frame, a family portrait taken at Amara's 5th birthday. Except now, it was just Daniel and Leah. I lifted the glass and tilted it toward the light. The background shimmered unnaturally, like someone had reprinted a false memory and sealed it behind glass. My fingers trembled. No, this can't be real. I searched for another copy. The original I printed myself. I found it buried under some school art. There she was, Amara, in her little pink dress, icing smeared on her cheek. The same moment, the same angle. But Leah's version had erased her. The air left my lungs. It wasn't just a few pictures. Leah had gone back years. Every photo she could access, every album she could manipulate. Amara had been wiped from them, like a ghost purged from her own family story. I sat on the floor surrounded by photos. 2 realities laid out in front of me, one filled with laughter, messy love, and little fingerprints on glass. The other, a sterile lie. Why would she do this? Jealousy? Hate? Control? I opened my messages and found Leah's name. My thumb hovered over the screen, but I didn't press send. What could I even say? Why did you erase my granddaughter's face? No, I needed to understand before I accused. Hours passed. The light in my room dimmed, but I kept scrolling, comparing, digging deeper. Each discovery cut a little deeper into my chest. One memory stopped me cold, a family Christmas photo from 2 years ago. I remembered how Amara had sat beside me, wrapping her tiny arms around my neck, giggling as we took the picture. But online, that space beside me was empty, cropped, clean. She hadn't just deleted Amara. She had deleted me too, wherever I stood beside her. That was when I realized this wasn't about one child. It was about control, about rewriting the family, so that only Leah's version remained. I could almost hear her voice, that careful, polite tone she used in public. Every family has to look perfect, Mother Khan. Don't you agree? Perfect. The word curdled in my stomach. I gathered the real photos in a pile and hugged them to my chest. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped them. My granddaughter's face smiled up at me from the snapshots, real, warm, alive. And suddenly, fear hit me harder than anger. If she could erase her from photos, what else could she erase next? Children remember love through celebrations. That's why birthdays matter, because for one day they get to feel seen. But that year, Amara's 7th birthday, wasn't hers anymore. Leah insisted on hosting it herself. "Don't worry, Mom," she said over the phone, her voice sweet but sharp. "I got everything handled. You just come and enjoy." I should have known better than to believe her version of handled. When I arrived, the house was shining like a catalog photo. Streamers, balloons, a cake taller than Amara herself. But as I stepped closer, I froze. Every decoration, every single one, had Ethan's name on it. "Happy birthday, Ethan." Blue letters, blue balloons, blue everywhere. My throat tightened. "Leah, this is Amara's day." Leah looked up from arranging the gift table, her smile polite, her tone smooth as silk. "Oh, that. Ethan's birthday was just last week, and Amara said she didn't mind sharing. It's more efficient this way." I turned to Amara, who stood quietly in the corner, her hands clasped behind her back. Her pink dress looked too bright against the sea of blue. Her eyes searched the room like she was looking for herself and couldn't find her. "Sweetheart," I whispered, kneeling beside her, "did you tell your mom you wanted to share your birthday?" She shook her head, a tiny motion. "Mama said it's better this way." Leah clapped her hands. "Come on, everyone. Time for pictures." I watched as Daniel placed his arm around Leah and Ethan. The guests gathered. Cameras flashed. Amara hovered behind them, uncertain where to stand. Leah gestured subtly, blocking her view. Amara, "Sweetie, can you stand next to Grandma? There's not much space here." There was space. There was plenty, but Amara obeyed. I stood beside her, forcing a smile for camera, feeling the sting behind my eyes. The cake came next. A perfect blue tower covered in stars. The top read, "Happy birthday, Ethan." No mention of Amara, not even a second candle. Leah leaned close to Daniel, whispering something. He hesitated, then nodded. When it was time to blow out the candles, Leah said, "Let Ethan go first." Amara clapped quietly while her little half-brother leaned forward and made a wish. The candles flickered out. The room cheered. No one noticed a small girl standing behind the table, her fingers gripping the edge like it was the only thing keeping her from disappearing again. I couldn't hold it in any more. "Leah," I said, my voice low, "this is cruel." She turned, her smile never faltering. "Excuse me? You're erasing her right in front of us." The room went silent. Daniel looked between us, his expression torn. "Mom, please, don't do this here." "Do what?" I snapped. "Speak the truth." Leah's eyes glimmered, icy, triumphant. "Amara's part of this family. Of course she is. But she's shy, you know that. She doesn't like attention." I looked down at Amara. Her little hands were shaking. She was biting her lip, so hard it turned white. I knelt again and held her shoulders gently. "You can make a wish too, sweetheart." Her voice came out in a whisper. "It's okay, Grandma. Maybe next year will be mine." That broke me. Later, after the guests left and the laughter faded, I found her sitting by the torn wrapping paper, staring at the leftover cake. One corner of it had been scraped away, where she quietly carved her name with her finger into the frosting. Amara. She looked up at me, eyes wet. "Grandma, am I not part of our family anymore?" My heart cracked in two. Silence can hurt more than words, especially when it comes from your own child. The day after the birthday disaster, I called Daniel. My voice was still shaking from holding Amara while she cried herself to sleep in my arms. He didn't answer the first time, or the second. When he finally picked up, his tone was clipped, distracted. "Mom, I'm in the middle of something." "I need to talk to you," I said. "Now." A long pause, then a reluctant sigh. "Fine, come over." When I arrived, the house was spotless, too spotless, as if emotion itself wasn't allowed to live there. Leah's perfume lingered in the air. The scent made my stomach twist. Daniel sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He looked tired, but not enough to hide the fact that he was avoiding me. "What happened yesterday?" I began. "Was cruel." He didn't look up. "Mom, please don't start." "Don't start." I repeated, my voice rising. "She erased Amara's birthday. Her name wasn't even on the cake." He rubbed his temples. "You're overreacting. Leah didn't mean any harm. It was just a mix-up." "A mix-up?" I stepped closer. "You call deleting her name, replacing her decorations, making her share her own birthday a mix-up?" Daniel finally met my eyes, and for a brief second I saw it. The guilt, the hesitation. But then his jaw tightened, the way it always did when Leah was winning an argument he didn't want to fight. "Mom, you're reading too much into everything. Leah loves both kids equally. Then why does Amara feel invisible?" He didn't answer. Leah's footsteps echoed from the hallway. She appeared in the doorway, leaning casually against the frame, her arms crossed. Her smile was soft but mocking, like she was watching a scene she'd already scripted. "Everything okay in here?" she asked. Daniel straightened. "It's fine, Leah." I turned to her. "No, it's not fine. You humiliated that little girl yesterday." Leah's expression never wavered. "I'm sorry you see it that way, Mother Khan. I only wanted a harmonious celebration. You know how easily children get jealous." I stared at her, stunned by how calmly she twisted reality. "Jealous? Amara is 7. Leah." All she wanted was to be seen. Leah shrugged. Maybe she needs to learn the world doesn't revolve around her. I felt heat rise to my face. "She's a child, not your competition." For a split second, Leah's smile faltered. Then she looked at Daniel. "Are you going to let your mother talk to me like this?" That was it, the moment of choice. Daniel's lips parted, but no words came. He looked from me to Leah, then back to his phone. His silence filled the room like smoke, thick, suffocating, final. I could feel my heart breaking, not from anger, but from disbelief. This wasn't the boy I raised, the one who used to defend the weak, who once told me, "I'll always protect my family, Mom." Now, he couldn't even protect his daughter. I stood there, watching my son retreat behind the comfort of his silence. Leah brushed past me, whispering just loud enough for me to hear, "You should go. You're upsetting the children." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just turned toward the door, my hands trembling. Behind me, I heard Daniel exhale shakily, but he didn't call out. Outside, the evening air felt heavier than before. My chest ached, but my mind was clear. Leah had taken control of his voice, and Daniel had let her. Daniel chose silence, and in doing so, he chose her. Thought for 1 minute and 29 seconds. Night has a way of revealing what daylight hides. I was helping Amara with her math homework at their kitchen table, the room lit by a single lamp that made the world feel small and private. She worked, tongue between her teeth, while I read the questions aloud. The house was quiet. Even the clock seemed to be holding its breath. After she finished, she showed me a drawer on the fridge, a crooked heart with our names inside, and I smiled the way grandmothers do when their small people offer proof of themselves. Daniel had been late from work, and Leah said she would come home soon. We waited in the soft yellow light, humming with conversation. Amara asked if she could type her spelling list into the computer, and I said yes. The family laptop lived on the counter, a thing everyone used and assumed they knew. I sat beside her as she pecked the keys with careful little fingers. Her hair smelled like crayons and park swings. When she left the room to fetch a colored pencil, I leaned over to close a tab that had been left open. A misclick opened a File Explorer window instead, and my eyes fell on a folder named Family Originals. I froze. That name was plain, but my chest tightened like a fist. I clicked. Inside were dozens of photos, organized by year and events that felt sacred. The thumbnail showed faces I recognized. Daniel carrying a toddler on his shoulders, a sunburned Amara at the beach, a Christmas morning with wrapping paper flying. I opened one. The raw image bloomed. Amara in her pink coat, cheeks flushed, grinning with a missing front tooth. Then I opened another file. My breath stalled. There, in high resolution, were images that matched the ones Leah had posted online, but with one crucial difference. The originals contained Amara in every frame. The edits I had seen earlier were lies. Someone had gone into these files, into the truth, and clipped the edges of a child out of the family. My hands went cold. I scrolled faster, each open image a new wound. Some photos showed Leah standing near Amara, her face gentle. Other frames, taken seconds later, captured a different expression. Leah's eyes flicking away, the ghost of smirk that read less like affection and more like calculation. Then there were videos. I clicked play on a folder labeled Home Clips. The first few were harmless. Amara blowing out candles, Daniel teaching her to ride a bike. But then a file named Leah_Talk said MP4 sat at the bottom like a stone. I double-clicked. On the screen, Leah sat on their living room sofa, camera propped at an angle that suggested privacy, not performance. She laughed softly, the kind of laugh that is a closed door. "She's the ghost child," Leah said, addressing the empty room as if it were a confidant. "If she's not in the pictures, she's easy to forget. That's the trick." My stomach dropped. I watched as she mimicked Amara. An exaggerated pout, a flick of the wrist, an imitation cruel in its detail. Off camera, someone snickered. I could hear Daniel's voice quiet, then a sharp intake. Leah's tone turned colder. "No one notices what you remove," she said. "They only see what you leave." The video ended, but the images stayed under my skin like glass. I sat there, fingers trembling above the keyboard. A dozen more files revealed the same pattern. Leah planning edits, practicing explanations, laughing at the idea of a child who could be made invisible. One clip showed her opening a photo editor, selecting a child-shaped area, and pressing delete. Another recorded her whispering, "No more reminders of the past." Amara returned with her pencil, oblivious, and hopped into my lap. She rested her cheek against my shoulder as if she belonged there, as if no one could ever erase her. I felt a fierce anger flare through me. Sharp, bright, immediate. I closed the laptop slowly, the screen's glow fading into the night. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling the realness of her, warm, messy, impossible to edit. That was the night I decided. If Leah wanted war, I'd give her one she'd never forget. I wanted her to feel what she made Amara feel, invisible, exposed, and small. For days after I found the hidden folder, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Leah's fingers clicking delete. I heard her voice, that smug whisper, "No one notices what you remove." But I noticed, and I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. So I planned something she couldn't control. Our annual family reunion was coming up, a big, cheerful performance Leah loved to host. She always turned into a photo shoot, complete with matching outfits, curated smiles, and endless hashtags about perfect family moments. This year, I offered to handle the slideshow. A little nostalgia, I'd said lightly, something to celebrate family memories. She smiled, unaware. "How thoughtful, Mom. You always make things so special." Her voice was syrupy sweet, but I could taste the rot underneath. That morning, as guests arrived, the house smelled of roasted chicken and candles. The chatter was warm, easy. Leah glided from room to room, perfect as ever, hair flawless, laughter rehearsed. She looked untouchable. Amara sat quietly beside me in a soft yellow dress I bought her. She played with the hem, whispering, "Grandma, do I have to smile for the pictures?" I knelt beside her. "You don't have to do anything, baby. Just be yourself." When the meal ended, I stood up, tapping my glass. "Everyone," I said, my voice steady though my hand shook, "I made something special for us. A little trip down memory lane." Daniel smiled, oblivious. "Mom, you never miss a chance to get sentimental." Leah nodded approvingly, unaware of the storm about to hit. The lights dimmed. The projector hummed. The first image appeared, Leah, Daniel, and Amara at the beach. The real version. Amara's tiny hand in Daniel's, her curls blowing in the wind. A murmur rippled through the room. Next came the online version, the one Leah had shared. Amara was gone. Just sand and sky and two smiling parents. The whispers grew louder. "Wait, wasn't there a little girl? Is that edited?" Slide after slide, I showed them, each truth paired with its lie. Every erased smile, every missing hand. The contrast was undeniable. Gasps filled the air. Someone covered their mouth. Daniel's sister whispered, "Oh my God!" Leah stood frozen, her wine glass trembling in her hand. Then came the final slide, one of the videos. Leah, on camera, laughing. "She's the ghost child," she'd said. "No one notices what you remove." The room went silent. Daniel turned to her, his face pale. "Leah, what is this?" She tried to laugh, but her voice cracked. "These are old drafts. Private files. I never meant." I cut her off. "You meant every word." My tone was calm, but my heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear myself. Leah's composure crumbled. "You went through my computer? That invasion of privacy." I stepped closer. "You erased a child, Leah. My granddaughter. You turned her into a ghost so you could feel like the perfect wife, the perfect mother." Amara clung to my leg, confused but sensing something monumental had broken. Daniel buried his face in his hands. "Tell me this isn't true," he muttered. But Leah said nothing. The slideshow ended with one last photo, Amara's smiling face, bright and unedited. I'd made it the final frame on purpose. The screen glowed softly, like a candle burning in a dark room. No one spoke. The silence was thick, suffocating. Leah's face had gone pale, drained of all color. For once, she couldn't edit reality. The house fell silent after the slideshow, but silence can scream louder than any words. Leah's chair scraped back sharply. She stood, eyes wild, chest heaving. "How dare you embarrass me like this?" she hissed. Her voice cracked, no longer smooth, no longer polished. No one answered. Even the children had gone quiet. Sensing the shift, she turned to Daniel. "Say something." He didn't. His lips trembled, but no words came out. His gaze darted from me to the screen and back again, like he was searching for the version of truth that hurt less. Finally, Leah spat, "You all disgust me," and stormed out, her heels striking the floor like gunshots. Daniel stumbled after her, calling her name. "Leah, wait." The front door slammed so hard the lights flickered. Everyone sat frozen. The slideshow had ended, but the air still buzzed with tension and shame. I gathered Amara into my arms. She didn't cry. She just buried her face into my chest. I could feel her heartbeat against mine, fast and frightened. My sister whispered, "You did the right thing." But as I looked at the empty doorway, I wasn't sure. Right doesn't always feel good. It often feels like breaking. That night, I sat by my window, replaying everything. The laughter that once filled his house now felt foreign, replaced by the faint echo of Leah's fury. The phone rang. It was Daniel. His voice was shaking. "Mom, I don't even know where to start." I said nothing. "Waiting." He exhaled shakily. "She's gone to her mother's place. Took our son. Said she'll never come back if I don't fix this." "Daniel," I whispered. "You knew, didn't you?" There was a pause, long enough to hear his guilt breathing on the line. "I tried to ignore it," he said finally. "At first, it was small things. She'd crop Amara out of group shots, say it was for the aesthetic. But when I noticed she was deleting old pictures, his voice broke. I couldn't handle another fight. She said if I pushed, she'd take the baby and leave." My chest tightened. "So you let her erase your daughter?" His silence was an answer. Tears stung my eyes, not just for Amara, but for the son I thought I'd raised stronger than this. "Daniel," I said quietly, "fear doesn't protect anyone. It just feeds a person holding the leash." He let out a sob. I thought I was keeping peace. "No," I replied, my voice steady now. "You were keeping her power alive." I heard him breathe deeply, like a man surfacing from underwater for the first time. "I'll make it right," he whispered. "I don't know how yet, but I will." "Then start by telling Amara the truth," I said. "Let her know she's not invisible." When the call ended, I sat in the dark, my reflection faint in the window glass. The night outside was heavy, the kind that presses on your chest and doesn't let go. I thought about Leah, her control, her fear, her cruelty. People like her survive on silence, feeding on weakness and image. But the truth had been spoken now, shown in front of everyone. And truth is like light. Once it burns through, the darkness can't pretend anymore. Fear is how she ruled him. But fear loses power when truth stands in the open. The internet doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive. 2 days after the reunion, the video went viral. I hadn't meant for it to spread. I'd only sent it to a few relatives, desperate to make them see the truth. But someone leaked it. Suddenly, Leah's carefully curated world began to collapse. The woman who had built her life on likes and perfect captions was now the face of cruelty. Stepmonster erases child for image. Every headline screamed her shame. Her sponsors dropped her, friends unfollowed, and her social media accounts vanished overnight. But while the world judged her online, I had to deal with the aftermath at home. Daniel showed up at my door, eyes red, face hollow. "Mom, I've filed for custody," he said. His voice cracked halfway through. "I can't let her near Amara again." I opened the door wider and pulled him into a hug. For the first time in months, he didn't resist. Inside, Amara sat on the couch with her coloring book. When she saw her father, she froze, then cautiously smiled. "Daddy," he dropped to his knees. "Hey, baby, I missed you so much." She climbed into his lap, small arms wrapping around his neck. He held her like he was afraid she'd vanish again if he let go. Watching them broke something in me, and healed something else at the same time. Still, reality loomed. Social services got involved after the footage circulated. They wanted to assess the environment, check Amara's emotional state. Leah's actions weren't just bad parenting. They bordered on psychological abuse. The investigator came to my house, polite but probing. She asked about the timeline, the photos, the evidence. I told her everything, my hands trembling as I recounted each moment of erasure. When she left, she touched my shoulder and said softly, "You did the right thing, ma'am." Most people look away. But I hadn't looked away, and that's why we were here now, picking up the pieces. Weeks passed. Leah's lawyer tried to spin the story as digital misunderstandings, but the video spoke louder than any excuse. Even the judge's face hardened as the footage played, Leah laughing, calling Amara the ghost child. Daniel testified quietly. He admitted his fear, his silence. He took responsibility for failing to protect his daughter. It wasn't easy to watch, but it was necessary. Leah didn't look at him once. When it was my turn to speak, I kept it short. She erased that child in every way she could, I said. And still, Amara loved her. Children love even those who hurt them. But it's our job to stop pretending that's enough. The courtroom fell quiet. For a moment, even Leah's confidence cracked. After that day, the decision came quickly. Daniel was granted primary custody of both children. Leah could visit her son under supervision, but Amara was to stay away until full evaluation. When Daniel told me, he broke down. I never wanted it to end like this. I nodded. No one ever does. But endings are where truth begins. That evening, I took Amara to the park. The air was soft, golden with sunset. She ran toward the swings, her laughter clear and bright. A sound I hadn't heard in so long it felt like music. As I watched her, I thought of everything Leah had built, her perfect image, her flawless home, her endless control, and how easily it had all crumbled once the truth came out. Because perfection is fragile. Truth isn't. Leah's empire, perfection, crumbled. And beneath it, I found my granddaughter's laughter again. Some wounds don't bleed. They fade quietly, like old photographs. Months had passed since the custody case. The noise, the scandal, the endless whispers, all of it had finally settled into silence. But silence, I learned, isn't always peace. It's the space where healing begins. Amar was different now. Still gentle, still curious, but lighter somehow. The heaviness in her eyes, the kind only a neglected child carries, was finally gone. She smiled more, laughed louder. I wanted to capture that. So one rainy afternoon, I brought out an old wooden box. Inside were photos, real ones, the kind you can hold, the kind that don't disappear a click. "Come here, sweetheart," I said softly. "I thought we could make a new album." She climbed onto the sofa beside me, her small legs swinging. "A new one? But we already have lots of pictures." I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. "Yes, but this one will be different. This one will be ours. No one gets to erase anything this time." She nodded, not fully understanding, but smiling anyway. We began sorting through the pile. There was baby Amara in her first birthday dress, frosting on her nose. Then a picture from beach, her curls tangled by the wind, eyes squinting against the sun. And one I'd taken secretly after her mother's funeral. Amara clutching a flower, standing too still for a child her age. Each photo told the truth of her life, in all its messy, beautiful, real imperfection. I found myself tearing up as I flipped through them. "These are perfect," I whispered. Amara frowned. "But some are blurry." I laughed. "That's what makes them special. They're real. You're real." She leaned against me. "Can I pick my favorite?" "Of course." She chose one from the park last week, her legs midair on the swing, her laughter frozen mid-giggle. "This one," she said proudly, "because I was flying." Something inside me broke and healed all at once. We spent the afternoon building the album page by page. I wrote little captions in my neat, careful handwriting. Amara's first day of school, our Sunday pancakes, Grandma's garden adventure, no filters, no edits, no missing faces. As the last page filled, I realized how full the house felt again, how laughter had crept back into its corners. Daniel stopped by later that evening. He watched us quietly, his face softening. "Looks beautiful," he murmured. I handed him the album. "It's not just for her. It's for all of us to remember what's real." He nodded, eyes glistening. "Thank you, Mom, for not giving up on her or on me." "Families aren't meant to be perfect," I said. "They're meant to be honest." After he left, Amara tugged on my sleeve. Grandma, can we show everyone the pictures? I smiled. Yes, we can. That night, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. I uploaded the photos, one from each year, starting from the day she was born. I didn't edit a single one. Underneath, I wrote a simple caption. She was never invisible. You just refused to see her. My hands trembled as I clicked post. Within hours, messages poured in, strangers, mothers, even step-parents, telling me how the story had opened their eyes. But I didn't need validation. I wasn't posting for them. I was posting for her. The next morning, Amara climbed into my bed with her tablet. Grandma, she said, eyes shining, everyone loves my pictures. I smiled, pulling her close. That's because they finally see you, sweetheart. She grinned. Do you think my mom can see them too? From heaven. Tears filled my eyes. I think she can, and I think she's proud. Outside, the rain had stopped. Light poured through the curtains, soft and golden, touching the new album that sat open on the table, pages glimmering like quiet proof that truth survives. I closed it gently, feeling peace for the first time in years. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's the quiet act of the last person I ever expected to see again was standing on my doorstep, crying. It was late afternoon, the light thin and tired. I just finished watering the plants when the knock came. 3 hesitant taps, like someone unsure they deserved to be heard. When I opened the door, my breath caught. Leah. She looked nothing like the woman I remembered. Gone was the flawless hair, the sculpted face, the curated smile. Her eyes were sunken, her hands trembling around a worn leather bag. Please, she whispered, voice cracking. I need to talk. For a long moment, I said nothing. The air between us was thick with ghosts, lies, loss, and the faint scent of the perfume she used to wear. Finally, I stepped aside. 5 minutes. She nodded, stepping in like a trespasser entering sacred ground. Inside, the house felt smaller, like her presence stole the air itself. Amara's laughter echoed faintly from the backyard, pure, untouchable. Leah froze when she heard it. She's happy, she murmured. That's good. I folded my arms. She's free. Leah winced, lowering herself onto the edge of the sofa. I deserve that. Her voice was softer now, almost fragile. I know what I did. I've been in therapy for months. They said I should face what I broke. Her fingers twisted nervously. At first, I told myself I was protecting my image, my family, my brand. But I wasn't. I was protecting my ego. I destroyed that little girl's sense of worth for nothing but my pride. Her words hung in the air like shards of glass. I wanted to scream, to ask why, to remind her the nights Amara cried herself to sleep. But something in her face, hollow, stripped of vanity, stopped me. Do you think guilt fixes anything? I asked quietly. No, she whispered. But it doesn't go away either. I see her every night when I close my eyes. The real her, the one I tried to erase. I can't sleep. I can't breathe. Her tears spill freely now. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed to say I'm sorry. Silence filled the room. Only the ticking clock and the sound of distant birds dared to move. I studied her, this woman who once ruled our lives through fear and perfection. She was broken now, yes, but brokenness doesn't always equal change. You say therapy changed you. I said, but change isn't words, Leah. It's what you do when no one's watching. She nodded slowly, eyes downcast. I know. I just want her to know I love her. I shook my head. You don't get to say that yet. Her lips quivered. Then what can I do? Keep healing. Away from her. She pressed a hand to her chest, as if steadying herself. You really hate me, don't you? I don't, I said softly. I just stopped needing to understand you. We sat there for a long moment, 2 women bound by pain, separated by choice. Then Amara's voice floated in through the window. Grandma, come play. Leah looked toward the sound, tears glimmering like confession. She sounds happy, she whispered again, almost to herself. She is, I said, standing. That's all that matters. Leah rose slowly, eyes glistening. "Thank you for letting me say this." I walked to the door, but she hesitated before leaving. "Do you think she'll ever forgive me?" I looked past her, toward the sunlight spilling over the garden, where Amara ran freely through the grass. "She already has," I said. "She just doesn't know it yet." Leah nodded, then stepped out into the fading light. I watched her walk away, shoulders hunched, a shadow shrinking into the horizon. As the door closed, I exhaled, long, heavy, final. Forgiveness, I realized, isn't about letting her in. It's about letting her go. Some endings don't come with closure. They come with quiet, like the moment after storm when all you can hear is your own heartbeat, still trembling from the thunder. Leah's visit haunted me for days. Her eyes, once full of control, now looked hollow, like someone who had finally seen her own reflection for what it was. She said therapy changed her, that she regretted everything, that she wanted to make things right. But some things can't be edited back into existence. After she left, I sat in my living room for a long time, the light from the windows spilling over the photo album Amara and I had made. It lay open on the coffee table, a little fingerprint smudge across the corner of one of the photos. Amara's smile, wide, unfiltered, free. I ran my fingers over her face. For the first time in years, there were no tears, just peace. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. A message from Leah. "Please, can I see her?" "Just once." I stared at the screen. I thought of all the just once moments that had led here. Just once. Leah ignored Amara's cry. Just once. She deleted a picture. Just once. She told Daniel to choose. Every just once had built a wall between them higher than forgiveness could reach. So I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my photo gallery, the one that had nearly been destroyed and rebuilt. Hundreds of images filled the screen. Real ones this time. Amara with paint on her cheeks, holding her little brother's hand. Daniel kneeling beside them. Guilt slowly replaced by love. Me in the corner, old but still fighting for truth in the only way I knew how. By remembering. I selected one photo. Amara in a yellow dress, the sunlight catching her curls, her small hands holding the new family album we made together. On the cover, embossed in gold, it read, "The Ones Who Stayed." That night, I opened social media. The same platform where Leah's perfect pictures once went viral. The same place where Amara had been erased. My hands didn't shake this time. I uploaded the photo, wrote the caption slowly, letting every word weigh what it needed to. She was never invisible. You just refused to see her. I hit post. Within minutes, the comments poured in. Friends, family, even strangers. Some apologized. Some wept. And some said nothing at all, because guilt has a way of silencing even the loudest people. But it wasn't about them. This wasn't revenge anymore. It was reclamation. The next morning, I woke to a knock on the door. Daniel stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee, and a look I hadn't seen in years. Peace. "She saw the post," he said quietly. I didn't ask who she was. I already knew. He handed me the coffee and sat beside me. For a while, we didn't speak. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was healing. "Thank you, Mom," he finally whispered, "for not giving up on her." I smiled faintly. "On who?" He looked at me, eyes soft. "On both of us." Later, Amara came running into the room, clutching her photo book to her chest. "Grandma, look," she said. "My friends at school saw my pictures. They said I look happy." I knelt beside her. "You are happy," I told her. "That's what they're seeing." She nodded, her curls bouncing, then ran off again, her laughter echoing down the hall like music I hadn't heard in years. That evening, I did one last thing. I opened Leah's message thread again. All her apologies, her excuses, her pleas. I hovered over the delete button. My thumb trembled only once. Then, click, gone. The past she tried control no longer held me. The story she tried to rewrite had already been told and finished. I looked at the framed photo on the mantel. Me, Daniel, Amara, and her little brother. No edits. No filters. just truth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I whispered to the quiet house. My daughter-in-law photoshopped her out of every picture, so I rewrote every memory she tried to destroy. And this time, the image stayed exactly as it was meant to be, real,